Hey,
Hello, hello.
how are you?
I'm good. I wanted to say happy Wednesday, but today is already
I,
Friday.
I know. I was literally just thinking that, being like, Happy Wednesday.
I
No,
know it's kind
no.
of my thing, but I'd say happy Friday as well. So it's so good to be back here. It's been a little
Yeah,
gap again, but personal life took over a little bit, and really
I
urgent
know.
matters. I guess it's this time of the year where so much going on in terms of like personally and work wise. So
And
trying
health
to
wise, oh my gosh,
health
it's like
wise.
6 seasons so hard.
Yeah. But we are back here and it's so good to be.
Yay. So, welcome everyone to episode 13 of Brand Experience Live with myself. My name's Ashley Pineda, and I'm joined by my co host, Lagla Moik. And
Hello.
so, Brand Experience Live, for those joining us for the first time, what we do here is we dive into brands and opportunities that lead to long term revenue growth by focusing on how your audience experiences your brand across candidates, employees, prospects, and buyers. We talk about the things that brands or even, us and our own clients are doing really well, or problems that we've seen and how we've
I know.
solved those, so that you have a playbook and you have opportunity to apply it to your own ventures too. And today is definitely no different. I feel like the conversation we're going to have today is just something that we have experienced with clients recently, but I've seen a lot go on LinkedIn about those who hold integrity for their services. Talk about and warn other individuals about, doing your research before you hire someone, how to fix something if you do come into a moment of crisis with your current vendor or service provider or something within your business, and how to solve it and make it better. So that's what we're going to be doing today. If anyone saw one of my posts recently, it was legitimately talking about making sure that you do your research before you hire someone. And I know that, Lagla, you have a story you're going to be discussing today about a client, and not necessarily doing bad research in the beginning, but making sure that even if when you hire someone to conduct a service for your business, you have regular like check-in moments so that
Yeah.
you avoid crisis in the future and ensure it's still on point with your brand and your needs.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, it's such an important topic, and I believe it's like kind of end of the year where we all kind of go
Mm,
look through, like, because everybody's saying, okay, how did we perform this year? And we all
yeah.
know, like, this is an aftermath of everything what happened past 2 years. Economy is so up and down. I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
how do you feel? But in terms of my clients, I see obviously very much, results are different than expected. It doesn't mean it's bad, but it's just a little bit different. And it's
Yeah.
just, I think it's just the overall what's happening economically in the world. And it's even more important than, because obviously prices are going up.
Yes.
Everything is everything is more expensive now. And I guess also the client is very, very about the cost. So this is more than ever like more important to kind of review service providers, vendors you work
Yeah.
with, and see what's working, what's not. And you brought it up. Yeah, I did have a recently. It's kind of now, I think, hopefully, we're now kind of in a new path. But yeah, the brand I've been working for the last 3.5 years. We everything worked really well. We had a great vendor. It's very well known, by the way. It's a service provider, and just one day, like I found it was very unpleasant actually behavior from them, because rather
Mm.
than coming back with a solution to us, they started to bombard straight away from some compliance office. What was like, I thought it was like not too friendly, way communication to a client, and
Wow.
saying, if you don't do this and that, then either we cut you off. But I said, okay, so I understand that our needs have changed now. So how we
Yeah.
can solve it? And they said to us, well, this is the only solution for you. And I said, okay, so that because we are overusing, let's say, I don't know, 5% of your normal thing, it doesn't mean we have to pay for compare with the big companies what they pay, and they said no, it meant that we have to increase our budget like per month 400 times, for the same thing service.
What?
Yes, it was crazy. So I obviously wasn't happy. So I thought, okay, what are we gonna do now? And I'm going back to the agency I work with, who helps to integrate the system. So
Mm-hmm.
making sure everything works. And they said, listen, they are like the best in market and the service. But I said, I understand, but at the moment it's just too expensive for the business.
Yeah.
So we need to find another solution. So obviously I started to do research, figure it out. There were different, obviously, providers, not so well known. But the good thing is that it's very important to go and do research, because one thing is like big
Yes.
names, obviously, they have money behind it. They can talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
They have more power behind it and advertise, obviously. And that's why we know this is only service provider. But in that case, I thought, okay, what are alternatives? And they're actually good. They have a good service, obviously, client service, easy communication. I can get answers. Because currently the provider they were somewhere in Asia, it didn't make any sense, and they offered a solution for
Yeah.
European business. And I found this communication was really off. And but yeah, we did a research a little bit. Obviously, the agency pushed back a little bit, saying, "Oh, we don't know how it's going to work out and stuff." I said, "Listen, we're not going to cancel the previous service. Let's keep going, but let's start to kind of try to integrate it, see how it
Yes.
works,
Yes.
test it. So we gave each other time to test system, and today, now it's been a few months, and we actually let go the big service provider, and obviously, super happy. We integrated this new system for the client. It's obviously still a little bit, work in progress, but it's
Mm-hmm.
doing great. Like everything what we need. And rather than paying, I can bring you like example, obviously, when money wise, £450 per month, so it's around almost $500. We are paying now only $20 savings.
What?
I
Oh my
know.
gosh.
I
Wow.
know. So it
That's
meant a little
nuts.
bit doing research and really just kind of testing the service and seeing if there is another solution. And it's just works for us at the moment. So I don't say it was like bad for us before. And I
Yeah.
believe like if we grow and if our needs are changing again, we obviously will use them again. But for now, it was very important this change for us in terms of like business
Yeah.
and yeah, building a new relationship with a new vendor.
And I think that's right. There's different things that you should do, whether you're a new business, you're a structured business, you have been around for years or decades, you're large, you're small. I think that there's some very specific things that you should do regardless of how many people are in your company, what your revenue is, what size your company is, in terms of service providers
Yeah,
helping your business. And for me, right, being like a revenue growth partner, my job is to understand the needs of the clients that I work with and understand who they are, why they are, what they do, what their goals are, and establish different ways to move forward with their business. And a huge part of that is by focusing on service providers to
yeah.
execute the things that are needed from the business. And so for me, and this is something I've done with previous employers, this is something that I've done with previous clients, one of the first things that I do is I look and I see, okay, who are our vendors, right?
Hmm.
Who are the service providers that are helping our business, whether it's, a manufacturer of goods or products, or it's for shipping, or it's for marketing or agency or telecom or whatever it is, right? Get a list of who your service providers are, understand what it is that they do, obviously what their cost is, and compare it to where your business is at in that moment. Now, if you're
Yeah.
new, it's understanding, okay, what are our needs? So I have an execution strategy for my business to move forward because I worked with Ashley and Lagla.
Exactly.
But I have an execution strategy. These are the things that I've identified that I need to outsource for my business because it doesn't make sense for me to do it by myself. And research who would be the best fit. For me, I start with my network.
Mm-hmm.
and I ask for suggestions from people that I trust
Yes.
who have a very similar mindset to me. Like I'll immediately go, like, I don't know, if I want someone to do like my social media marketing, I'm immediately going to go to Don Barnett and be like, Don, who do you think should do my social media marketing? Or if I'm thinking about, I don't know, an analysis, like market research and analysis, one of the first people I'm probably going to call is Tom Herman, because that's literally what he does. That is his bread and butter, and he packages it so well. I'm going to go to my network and understand, okay, who are my best options? Are you, and who else do you suggest? Because I'm
Yeah.
not going to just look at one. I need to look
Yeah.
at many.
But this is very, I think it's, if you don't have enough resource, obviously internally in terms of like maybe staff and people, that's why it's very important, to have this extension of someone else, who's coming
Yeah.
in and really going through, because I believe it's so many businesses still don't know. Let's say they have this vendor 2, 3 years or even longer in their books, but we don't
Mm-hmm.
know how much value it adds anymore. Is it actually anymore needed, the
Yeah.
service, or not? So it's very important to go and do that sort of like really cleanse. It's like, do this annual or every 6 months, go through all the service providers, check what is working, what is not, if you have questions, because very often also actually, unless your service provider communicates with you. But I love, like, again, I'm very lucky in terms of like a relationship with have with other vendor. They are great. They constantly adding something new. They communicate very personal service.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pleasure to work with them. And every 6 months, something innovative happens. And we feel like, wow, we've been looked after all the time. It's like
Yeah.
really value added business. But then there is people you never even hear from them, and you kind of change after like 2 or 3 years, and you're like, hello, what's
And
going on?
that's where it goes back to the experience that like you and I are always talking about is, messing with my microphone. But we always talk about brand experience. And what that means is, it's not a colorful thing that most people think about when it comes to brand, right? Brand is who you are, what you do, why you do it, how you communicate what you do. But the whole idea about brand experience is, how is someone feeling through every touch point of your brand? Whether that is your candidates and employees, or it's your prospects or your buyers, how are they feeling about what it is that you're doing externally for your business? So if you are, for example, I don't know, looking to implement a new CRM, or you're looking to solve a problem, is that solution that you're thinking of actually solving a problem, or is it creating a new one?
Yeah.
And how the way that you understand that is by thinking about who it's impacting. So if I'm implementing a new CRM, the first people it's going to impact is my internal team. Is this going to create more stress in their life? For how long is it going to create stress? Because it is stressful. Like this specific example is stressful short-term people. Like implementing a new CRM is not fun in the beginning. But how long is that impact going to be on my people? How are they going to feel? Am I stressing them out even more? How long is it going to take to phase out another one? Is it going to carry into my customers, who are the second touch point of the CRM, and how others are experiencing my brand? And thinking about, checking in for those checkpoints of what is relevant to you and what's important to you when you are looking to solve a problem. But we go about driving revenue by thinking about how individuals are experiencing the solutions that we're providing in order to do it. And this whole like vendor management thing is one of them. And understanding, when should I check in with my vendor? When should I evaluate? Are they communicating? Are they giving me everything that I need for the money that I'm paying, right? What is their value based on my needs and my brand? And for me, what I've normally done is, right, I make a list of my vendors. Depending on who that vendor is and what service that they're providing, I do have regular touch points with them where I'm legitimately saying, fill out this spreadsheet or update this thing, service provider, for me as the client, so that I can keep my things in order and we can work best together. I need you to fill this out on a quarterly basis or biannual basis. I'm not going to wait a whole year to check in with you, because there's a million problems that could have happened by then.
No,
And
that's
then I
true.
can compare, right? Did my cost go up at all during these times? Did it go down? What was the lead time? What was the communication? Did I have problems? Did you solve problems for me? And then you avoid so many problems, I feel like, at least in my experience, by doing that.
Yeah, no, it's and I just saying don't underestimate now because I come from Estonia and it's such a unicorn, obviously, unicorn techie country, you know. So the new actually creative solutions and companies are popping up every single day, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So be open-minded, you know. So first of
Yeah.
all, you might have a much better solution. It's a smaller, probably, let's say, organization, a company. You have a better
Yep.
communication. They are building, obviously, their client base as well. They probably will be more flexible, you know, probably also in price wise, you know, something more suitable for you. And especially now, so don't underestimate for these small, obviously, businesses who are just popping up, and it could
Yeah.
be much better solution for you, unless obviously it's a great company relationship, you know, you had already a long time. Then yeah, obviously you don't need to change, but always be kind of looking outside the box, and that's what I've been
Yes.
doing. You know, I like to kind of like give really chance for smaller companies because I'm small business, you know, and small
Mhm.
business really relies on relationships, you know. So for me,
Yes.
rather than being on a phone call,
All business
exactly,
relies on
I
it.
don't want to be on a phone call like 40 minutes and I can't get through customer service. I
Right.
want to make sure that they actually know, they answer my call and they respond ASAP. So
Mhm.
I'm very lucky that in terms of the vendors nowadays we can communicate very quickly through WhatsApp or any other
Yeah.
ways. You know, it's instant, it's quick. We get the answers rather than waiting. But this is my experience been, and I think it's very important for all the businesses who are here, who are not. Just go through a list of your vendors, you know, people you work with, what's happening, what's working, what's not, and be actually brave to make these changes, you know.
Yeah, and remember, like, it's your responsibility as the business leader, or, the owner or the team leader, right? Whatever your responsibility is as a decision maker. It is
Mm,
your responsibility to make sure that your vendors are doing the things that they need to do for your needs. It's not
yeah,
just like, right, like we talk about on LinkedIn, like post and pray. No, you don't just make a decision and then leave it alone and trust that they're going to follow through. You
yeah,
have to hold them accountable no matter how good they are. If they're not offering you accountability, like, for example, me saying, I need checkpoints, I need this information on a quarterly basis, I'm going to send you reminders, we're going to do these things together. Like, if I'm working with my personal brand clients, for
hmm,
example, I have very specific checkpoints where I say, okay, after the first 3 weeks, we're going to evaluate XYZ for how we move forward. And then 4 weeks later, we're going to evaluate again. And then 4 weeks later, we're going to evaluate again. I make sure that my clients know I'm holding myself accountable, but I'm also doing it for them at the same
yeah,
time. But it is your responsibility at the end of it. If you are the one hiring and paying someone to do something for you, it's your responsibility to make sure that you get what you need. And oftentimes that means you have two choices that you can go to for that one service on any given day, and likely a third backup if you can, right? If you have that capacity to find what you're looking for, you have multiple options, because option one is not always going to be able to give you every single thing that you
yeah,
need. And it's okay to go to your backup options sometimes to get what you need, and continue to compare prices and tell them, like, look, this person's charging me this for this. Can you get close to that? Or if it's higher, okay, I understand. I'll go to you when I need you. And you have your ducks in a row, so to speak. But it is your responsibility to do your research and not just blindly trust that
mm,
someone's going to do something that they say just because they say it.
yeah, yeah. For you, Ashley, what's been the like personal experience? You know, what you can kind of do you have example of the like crisis moment you had to solve? Like you had literally no choice; you had to figure out ASAP the answer. You know, do you have any examples?
I feel like that has been my entire career, right? I've always been known as like the get shit done person. Of, if someone can't figure it out, okay, go to Ashley, she'll figure it out. Because my personality is just, I'm not going to let something sit and wait for someone else to take care of. I can't stand that at all.
I know.
So I feel like just my general personality in life has been, okay, we can't figure it out. Let's go to Ashley and see what she thinks and find a solution. And there's been some like very serious, like $400,000 problems that have come to me with manufacturers and distributors that I've worked with where it wasn't my responsibility initially, right? This $400,000 problem wasn't my responsibility, but somehow it was my responsibility to fix it. And the solution to solving this $400,000 problem was going back to the relationships that I built, finding solutions, evaluating the problem, right? Going through sometimes like solving problems, it sucks sometimes, y'all.
I
Like you
know.
have to go through line by line, so to speak, and see, okay, where was the drop in communication, or where was the drop in something that should have been happening? Let's go back to the source of where the problem began, figure out and adjust, right? Create a guideline or an SOP for the future for how this problem will be avoided. Communicate with that service provider because maybe it was their fault. Probably it wasn't, because again, going back to like, it's your responsibility to make sure you got what you need. But I had some merchandising that was or was not created, and there was no communication. It never got to the warehouses. We're $400,000 like in, and the people in charge, like they didn't communicate their proper needs. It wasn't getting paid for. There was a lot going on. And the first thing that I did was I went and I called my contact at that company and I said, hey, like, let's talk, because no one else
Yeah.
is talking. Everyone's avoiding each other. Let's talk and figure out what went wrong. I want to know where the problem went wrong, not so I can blame you or blame someone else, but so that we can figure out how to solve this problem in the future. And by the way, our costs aren't what we agreed on. How did this happen? Where did communication get misconstrued? And they worked with me, right? Like they gave discounts, because $400,000 in merchandise is a lot of money, right?
Yes, of
It's
course.
not chump change. And that was just for that quarter, right? So it was $400,000 being spent quarterly. But they were willing to have that conversation. And more often than not, the service providers and the vendors that you work with, they want to have an open relationship with you, because
Yeah.
when you're working with each other, helping each other be better, you can go to bat for each other. Where they went back to their accounting team and said, hey, forget about this. Let's make new payment terms. Let's make discounts. Let's solve issues. They went back to their production line and said, let's move certain things to the beginning of the production line, because I told them what our priorities were for that moment. I went back and created vendor guidelines and SOPs. I went back and adjusted certain things within our own internal capacities. And the relationship, right? Like the problems weren't solved right then and there, because when you're talking about manufacturing and things like that, like it takes time. But it saved so much of our relationship, our working relationship together, and our internal team, their stress levels, it changed, and we set plans for the futures. And it made everyone feel better because we solved those problems. And I'm seeing things, and I took that back and I went and said, okay, I'm having these problems. I found these solutions. And now I agree to new terms and costs. While I'm at it and I'm in this conversation, I'm going to also go look for other providers that can do the same for me.
Yeah.
So if I'm having an issue in the future, I have a secondary or a third provider that I can go to help me when I need. And it's not that this original service provider was terrible. It's that it didn't suit the needs that I had in every single moment. And it's my responsibility to make sure that I'm going back and I'm getting what I need and I'm doing my research and I'm paying for what I want. And I've seen on LinkedIn lately, and I think I told you earlier, and I made a post about it, but I saw on LinkedIn like a service provider offering expertise for something that I know for a fact they don't have experience in. I know for a fact they charge thousands of dollars for this service. I know for a fact they're out asking actual experts to actually complete this work for
Well,
them and not paying for it, and then going out publicly and saying that they're the ones solving these problems. And it's like, guys, like, do your research, cover your own butt when it comes to paying for things that you need for your business or you need for yourself.
yeah. Well, it's now obviously more in digitally available and everybody can comment about it. But I have to tell you before we wrap up, very, very extreme what happened like literally 20 years ago. So kind of my second sales job. And I was in this small agency and we had a big, very, very well-known race car campaign happening. And we used, I don't even know how it happened this time because it's such a hazard, like danger zone. But we used the bridge, obviously, to put the banner up. At the time, we put banners up. Just remember, it's a long time ago.
Banners are still a thing.
it's a thing. And it's a bridge. And it's obviously have a traffic all the time going through and stuff. And then I get a call in the morning from my colleague. And I was very, very young at the time, waking up in my high heels, going to work that, by the way, the banner is not there. I was like, oh my God, what banner is not there? It's my first kind of real account as well. I'm working and I said,
been there.
It's going to be 9 o'clock there. The banner is going to be 9 o'clock there. So we had, obviously the vendor who's supposed to do that job, we're going to get hold of anything. We're not going to go and just lose that obviously account and look bad. So I have no idea how we did that. We took the banner, two of us, two women. We climbed up to that bridge. We actually tied it around there as quickly as we could. I don't think it's anymore allowed these days, these things, but we managed to do that at the time because it's actually railway bridge as well, So we had a banner there. The best part was the client drove past, under it, and they saw us and said, well, girls, that's very, very impressive, because obviously we explained afterwards what happened, but he said, I'll give you all the points because it was so impressive.
You got it done.
Two chicks tying this banner around the bridge, and it was most extreme thing ever for me. But I don't think it's ever going to happen because first of all, it was such a not very safe at all. Obviously it's on the railway bridge as well. But at the time, 20 years ago, it worked.
Don't do this.
Exactly. Please don't do that. Not anymore. But that time it worked. So here you go. That was my most extreme case.
Well, we're gonna wrap up for today, guys. Hopefully you got something out of this in terms of solving problems within your own business, the best ways that we go about crisis management, hiring vendors and service providers, reevaluating them, touch points. Please, if you have questions about your own personal ventures, ways to expand, realign your business for better brand experiences, right? Whether it's with vendors, your internal people, or your customers and buyers, please feel free to DM Lagla or myself, send us an email. We both have links in our LinkedIn profiles for you to set up calls with us. We'd love to see how, we could help your business and your personal ventures for long-term revenue growth by solving these problems and making, better brand experience overall. But we will be back next week for another episode. I hope everyone has a fantastic weekend, and let us know if you guys have any other questions or anything after this.
Ashley, I'm going to challenge you to wear the holiday hat next time. Oh, jumper already, let's get into the seasons.
I'm down.
Me too.
I will wear my Santa hat.
And everyone else, you have to do the same, you have to send us pictures, upload the pictures to our chat, next week with your holiday theme, jumpers, hats, whatever, be creative.
Oh, I love it. And we can talk about how to get through the holidays as a business.
Yes.
Then. Okay,
Sounds
cool.
Good.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.